From the Atlantic savaged coast of western Scotland, we will continue further north, where the winds are harsher, the atmosphere colder, and the mysteries become weirder, to the island of Vaila and the House of Sounds. This is a story of madness and a family curse, a tale of people tied to a place and of that place having its own plan for them that slowly unfurls. Vaila's sense of the weird comes from both a set of well-trod Gothic tropes, such as fear of hereditary madness, operatic murders, a huge and oppressive castle, incestuous marriage and family curses, as well as a developing sense of the modern and twisted weird. But it is with this place, the castle or House of Sounds, that the story explores its most original and philosophical ideas. The idea of sound is played with throughout the story. Sound as noise and sound as signal. It exploits the power of sound and variously switches from how sound can influence how we feel and its potential to drive one mad. Whenever the harsh northern winds intrude on the story, they show how noise can sometimes carry information and at other times how it can manifest as brute force. To quote Lovecraft again, it is vaguely like, yet infinitely unlike, Poe's Fall of the House of Usher. Lovecraft is right. It's impossible to discuss Vaila without reference to the classic Gothic tale of entropy and decadence, but it is equally its own animal. The story begins with the narrator relating 3 anecdotes to an apparently uninterested protagonist, and this sets out the key themes of the tale, namely the relationships between sound, our environment, and our sanity. As the narrator tells these stories, Hako Harfager, a young man who will inherit this strange family home in the Shetland Islands, worries about the curse that this house has driven his family mad since being built. 12 years pass and the narrator is invited to visit his friend at his family home. His mother has died and he is asked if his friend can attend the funeral. The narrator makes the perilous journey and the mansion makes for an impressive sight on an island that is dangerous to reach. Isolated and battered by Scandinavian storms, it feels impenetrable, and it is positioned so that its walls are constantly battered by the aggressive northern sea. Like a ship, it is covered in barnacles, and for those familiar with Lovecraft, it seems to have at least in part informed his description of R'lyeh, that rising city of the sleeping Cthulhu. In an interesting juxtaposition to Poe's tale, Shield gives the inside of the house much more description in the text. Poe personifies in an organic way. The Usher house's windows are described like eyes. Shield contrasts this with a weird derived from describing the strange and almost bodily internal quirks of this unusual house. The draught through the house moves the tapestries as though the walls themselves are breathing. It's not all in another chamber, it seems to drip blood as though the house has a pulse. The constant battering of the sea against the walls and foundations of this odd house create an unceasing drone of white noise throughout the story, exaggerated by the way they are forced to communicate by writing notes to each other. After an introduction to the strange characters that live in the house and the increasingly bizarre behaviours of Hako, Shield describes the funeral. This involves a strangely designed coffin, large rooms with unusual furnishings, and a secret whose purpose is only revealed at the very end of the tale. The funeral of the mother follows a bizarre family ritual, processions to a sinister crypt, and features chambers with brass floors and no apparent explanation. The narrator is shown a strange mechanism that deposits ball bearings that take on the form of drops of blood within the guts of the bizarre castle. There is a palpable sense of the weird throughout this story, a weird that plays with the supernatural atmosphere without wholly succumbing to any cliché. Dark Gothic ideas are reinvented in a way that points the way to the modern weird tale, and it has a genuinely odd feeling throughout due to the quirks of its characters. The slow burn sense of timing is effective, The ticking sense of growing tension is well paced, and the climax is both dramatic and satisfying. I hope that these words encourage you to read the story, as it's an important example of what would become the modern weird tale, and I hope you'll join me again next time as I continue my strange surveys of weird literature.